Hi, welcome back to Live and Breathe Horses at Centre Equestrian La Luce. So today we're going to talk about nosebands. So I stopped using nosebands a few years ago, which I just realised I had them so loose I wasn't using them. And I thought, and then I realised I had them there because it looked funny without them. You know, I wasn't used to seeing the horse's face without a noseband. But I thought, you know, less tack cleaning. Let's just dump the noseband. So I haven't used them for quite a while. Of course, the thing with not using one, if you did have an emergency and you really had to do one rein stop, which we hope will never happen, but in case we did, and to stop the bit going through the horse's mouth, you can use a little strap on the back of the bit, which is very typical they use in Western riding. Now on this one you can see I've just got a little lip strap on there from a curb bit, but you could use any strap. In fact, I reused some of the straps from the flash nosebands because I was no longer using the nosebands. So when I started with horses, we were always taught here that you should have two fingers here between the horse's nose and the noseband so he can still move his jaw. So for me this is very important. You know, Miguel was very insistent on this. I mean, this noseband came from a dressage horse I had here and his bridle. So you can see here it's actually got this thing you put it through so you can crank it back and make it even tighter around and really clamp the nose. I mean, at least it has padding. So any noseband you use, if possible, should be a padded one. You know, this part of the nose of the horse is very sensitive. And also up here on the top of his head. So also it's a good place. You know, modern bridles also have padding on there. So, you know, this thing of clamping the jaw shut, I mean, what are we going to achieve with that, really? Okay, we stop the horse putting his tongue over the bit, but we stop him expressing himself. So it makes me think, right, is it not better if my horse is like opening his mouth and doing all funny things? It's better to try and find out why he's doing that and solve the problem. You know, tightening the noseband more, or different kind of noseband. You know, you get the drop noseband goes down here. There's the grackle or Mexican noseband with the figure 8. This is a flash one missing the bottom bit. It goes round the bottom. You know, they all have different names depending where you live. But the function is all the same, to hold the horse's mouth and jaw closed. So, yeah, like I was saying, is it not better to find out why? Because if we clamp it shut, then it's like, you know, if you have a poisonous wound and you just, you don't clean it and you put a sticky plaster over it, it's going to get worse inside. So if the horse is doing funny things with his mouth or his jaw, then we try to find out why and what's going on and solve the root of the problem rather than the symptom. You know, the problem's not just about the face or the bit. It's more likely something we're doing, you know. So there is a school of thought that the noseband, put this one down, the noseband is about keeping the bit still in the mouth. I mean, the bit is hanging on the bridle. So the noseband's not really going to stop it. I mean, if the rider's hands are moving all around a lot and the bit's moving around a lot, maybe a tight noseband will minimise the movement. But I think that's not really, is that helpful? You know, while your hands are moving a lot, is it not better to maybe just ride on a stable halter without a bit until you can get your seat more smooth and your body relaxed and find a way that your hands are independent of your body, that they're not moving around when you're moving around. So, you know, I think if we're going to use the noseband, it should be a loose one. And of course, in the beginning with young horses, we don't want them getting a habit to put their tongue over the bit. But again, taking that back to a progression, I mean, if they're doing that, it's because they're uncomfortable. So just stopping them being able to do it and they can't express their discomfort. Maybe there's a better way, you know, to start with a smaller progression and lighter phases, you know. I tend with young horses just to put the bit maybe a little bit higher in the mouth so it's more difficult, and just put it on and never do anything with reins until the horse is very used to wearing it and he's calm with wearing it. And then only to start very lightly from the ground, you know, just picking up the reins and maybe just doing a tiny little bit of movement, that he gets used to the feel of that before we're ever going to sit on him and take a hold of the reins. So yeah, I mean, it's a personal preference thing, I guess, but it's I think it's quite an important thing. You know, I have gone on about this in various other videos about the importance of the jaw and the horse being able to move his jaw. You know, if the movements are smooth and soft and the jaw will be flexible, if we clamp it shut and he can't move, I mean, like I've said before, do that on yourself and your whole back goes tight. So tight jaw, tight back equals sore back in the end. So allowing him to express, you know, and when the movement is fluid and soft and bouncy, there should be a certain amount of movement in the mouth, you know. I've seen horses at competition sometimes, you know, and foaming and all this foam out the mouth, and then somebody said to me, like, oh yeah, but that's a good sign, it means he's working his jaw correctly. So a little bit of foam is good, but too much usually means the noseband's just so tight that the horse can't swallow, and that's definitely not a place we want to be. Is it, Umo? What do you think? You've got all this to come. Yeah, so I hope we're in shot. I wish Albert was here. So, of course, the main thing if you are using a noseband is to feel down your horse's nose, and you'll feel it's hard, and then there's a place here where the nostrils start, where it's soft. So, of course, the noseband should never be over that, because then, you know, it's like you can't breathe. So it should also be that those nostrils can always, here, flare up when they need to get more air inside. You like that, Umo? Ooh, yeah. So you can feel that quite easily. So if you are going to use one, that it should be above there, not rubbing on these little bones on the side, and as padded as possible. You know, you get nice little sheepskin things or little rubber covers you can put over your noseband. But just to, you know, it's about listening to the horse. And if we let them tell us, hey, this is uncomfortable, something's not going right, then it's our job to find out what that is. So just make sure we don't use our nosebands just to mute our horses and say, you know, if we were training our child to dance, for example, and they say, oh, wow, you know, my feet are hurting. We don't say, hey, shut up and tighten the shoes up more and make them carry on. So it's not really logical, and I think it's a lot just custom, that we're just not used to it. You know, like I said, when I first stopped trying to do that a noseband, I would just look at the horses going, oh God, they look so weird. It just doesn't look right. But now, of course, I'm so used to it, it almost looks more funny with a noseband. So anyway, I would love this to be an open conversation. So please give me your thoughts on that. Write them in the comments below. Thank you for joining us today. Keep tuning into The Light, and we'll see you next time.